Hello everyone! This is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone!
And joining us as our guest this week, making their Podcastus debut, it's Aurelia Tempris.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome, thank you for coming on. So, for those listening who may not be familiar with your work, would you like to give a bit of a brief introduction?
Yes, of course. So I am a Warhammer VTuber, which isn't too different from being a streamer. The only difference is I don't use a face cam to stream. I use, what we call a VTuber model. It's basically an animated model that uses face tracking, so you can see my expressions. And pretty much what you're seeing on the screen is a version of what my model looks like.
Fair enough. I'm getting too old to understand all this, but I'm sure people in comments will understand as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of what it is. I've seen it. It's not something I've really particularly looked into, so good to have a little bit of explanation as to how it actually works. So yeah, and for those who are familiar with our work, you should probably be able to do some maths and realise that this episode is late. That is entirely my fault. I just full disclaimer, I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. I couldn't make the episode recording at the last minute, so we pushed it back in order to fit around me. So sorry about that one.
it's all right. These things happen.
But there'll be people saying, "Why is the episode a week late, Remleiz?" So just I'm just heading those people off.
All right, calm down. That was very bitter to start. I was like, oof.
Oh, they would.
No, you're overreacting.
You know YouTube comments as well as I do, Remleiz. There is no such thing as overreacting.
Yes, I know, but still. But speaking of overreacting, in the news this week, we got some new Blood Angel stuff, which a lot of people didn't really like.
No.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get through because of the extra week, and it's not going to probably be the most hyped positive show ever because there's a lot to talk about and a lot of it's quite... divisive is the wrong word, but it's a mixed bag, that's for sure.
Yeah. So let's start things off with the new Sanguinary Guard. And I'm just going to say outright, I don't like them. They're so bland and generic looking. Like, if you told me that these were Minotaurs, like Minotaur Sternguard or something, I'd probably believe you at first glance.
Yeah, or if you told me they were Vanguard veterans using a Blood Angels upgrade sprue with new heads, I would also believe you.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little disappointed when I saw them come out. Blood Angels are my favorite Space Marine Legion. So I was pretty disappointed when I saw the models weren't as detailed as I would like them to be. I've seen some memes recently. It seems like Warhammer Fantasy is really pouring salt in our eyes for us Warhammer 40k fans. They've got really beautiful models, and these ones failed to impress me. I was very disappointed by the wings, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's killed them. It's the same thing as I can't remember saying. I keep bringing this up. The Kotiaz problem of it's not that these minis are bad. They are not. They are fine. The problem is that they're being compared to exceptional, unique old miniatures, which I'm setting to Remleiz to put on the screen now, because the old Sanguinary Guard did have jump packs and Infernus pistols and blades or axes, as they do now, with the death masks, which haven't changed that much. And okay, some of the features are a little bit more modern marine, and to be fair, the armor's not even that different. You've still got quite a lot of the sculpting and detail that Kotiaz lacks. The big problem...
They did get rid of the nipples, though.
Semantics, yeah. I can live with that. The big problem is what they've done to the jump packs. And I don't just mean, Primaris jump packs don't suit them. I mean, they had proper jump packs, but those jump packs came with ginormous wings that probably were very non-functional, but made them look like proper angels. Whereas with the new Sanguinary Guard, you wouldn't even notice the fact that the wings are the little vein fins off the top of the jump pack have got a wing pattern on them. And that, I can tell you from experience, breaks incredibly easily, so you won't even notice because it'll break. And second, is such a tiny detail that it looks like a massive downgrade. Also, they've massively downgraded the banner from a full-on standard to a pennant, and that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, not too long ago, Warhammer Plus, they actually put out a Lore Masters episode about Sanguinary Guard. They had new Primaris Sanguinary Guard art commissioned for that, and it gave them the angel wings.
Oh, that feels like a slap in the face.
Yeah,
GW, come
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, with this artwork, if they actually, apply that to the actual models, I think people will be a lot kinder to the new models.
Are they definitely Primaris? Because they look very similar to the old ones.
Well, if you look at the jump pack, they got like the 3-prong things rather than just 2, haven't they?
No, but the old Sanguinary Guard didn't have the classic Space Marine jetpack. I think they had like a single booster jetpack. I don't have a 360 I can use to verify that, but I feel like Blood Angel's jump packs on the Sanguinary Guard didn't just look like classic Assault Marine jump packs. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
I'm very sure these aren't classic Assault Marine jump packs, because classic Assault Marine jump packs just had like the 2 massive big boosters on back, and this has got 3.
Yeah, but I don't think Sanguinary Guard had the classic Assault Marine jetpack.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. Sorry, my bad.
I think they had a single mega booster jetpack. Like, they had a 1-pack, kind of like the old Assault Marines, like the Heresy era Assault Marines do. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
But even so, come on, guys.
See,
it's a slap in the face.
Yeah, and I know art is always more detailed than minis will ever be, but can I get a mini with quads like that? Look at the quads on the armor. That's amazing.
Yeah, that doesn't look like armor. That looks like synthetic skin.
Okay, so I looked at the Joy Toy figure, and they do have the same backpack in the artwork. Okay, so, but again, that is the Joy Toy figure rather than the actual mini, so take that with a pinch of salt, but okay. But speaking of other models, the Sanguinor, which overall actually looks fine.
Yeah, the Sanguinor is fine. I think they've actually made a really good point with the Sanguinor of, we are just going to do the Sanguinor again. I just need to go find the image because I couldn't seem to find the ruddy thing. But yeah, it doesn't seem to have changed much from the old Sanguinor. Like, the pose is pretty much the same.
It's basically just an upscale.
Yeah, it's basically an upscale. And that's fine, for the record. That's fine.
There is one thing I do have an issue with, and that's how they've changed the helmet. Because they've actually made it a helmet this time rather than just a mask.
I'm gonna be honest, I had barely noticed that compared to...
Because if you look at his...
I didn't notice that either.
If you look at his jowls, you got those little tubules that you typically see on Space Marine helmets. Mm-hmm. Whereas the original one didn't have that, again, because it was literally just a mask. Like an actual mask that was fused to his face, kind of thing.
Right. I think I follow. I'd never seen the Sanguinor model in person, so I'd never really looked at it from all angles and things like that.
Let me get a version of the original model on screen.
Yeah.
If I can actually find it.
Well, while you find it, I'm going to point out that the new... Oh, fair enough. The new Sanguinor also has the 1-pump jetpack that I was just referring to. So they've not... As much as they've changed the Sanguinary Guard's jetpacks, they haven't changed the Sanguinor's. He's still got the 1-pump jetpack like he used to.
And technically, he still has that little wing tabs that you see on the Sanguinary Guard. At least they gave him wings this time.
Are you sure the little boosters aren't hidden under the little wing veins?
They just look like standard backpack vents. Like, the standard vents you get on all Space Marine backpacks.
Right, okay.
But yeah, I could be wrong.
Going back to the original Sanguinor model, if you look at his face, see how it's literally just like a mask rather than just like a Space Marine helmet. Like, there's no sign of tubules or pipes or anything like that. It's just like as if someone just clasped a mask around his face.
Yeah, I take your point. That's really subtle at a glance, but I do see what you mean. Also, they've completely changed the colour scheme from cold non-metallics to generic gold, but, they've done that with all the Blood Angels.
I do see your point. I actually like the mask better, because I think it captures, as a huge Sanguinius fan, I like seeing the beloved Angel's face, so I prefer that, actually, over the new helmet. I didn't notice that, but thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome. And it also ties in better to the Sanguinor's original backstory, during the Horus Heresy, because that's when the Sanguinor first appeared. Mm-hmm. The Herald of Sanguinius, in where a member of the Sanguinary Guard actually had that golden mask melted to his face, it was superhid and fused to his face, basically burnt on, so he can't take it off. Whereas the new one, it just looks like a helmet, so you can just like, oh yeah, Sanguinor's just got to take his helmet off quickly, kind of thing.
Yeah, because the lore of the Sanguinor is sort of not that he's actually a generic warrior of the Blood Angels who is with them. He shows up in their hour of greatest need, which is why, that mysterious masked figure, rather than... This looks like a suit of armor with that helmet change that any of the Blood Angels could jump into. And I almost feel like I understand why they've primarized him, like they did with the Martes, which was the conversation we had last episode of why they're doing it to the Martes, because they're making the whole range Primaris. But the Sanguinor is supposed to be a figure of legend or a manifestation of something. So him being in modern armor makes absolutely no sense from a lore perspective. It's not like, oh yeah, they had the Sanguinor, he turned up. I said, wait, before you disappear, just hang on. We've got a new suit for you. Just, we'll turn our back so we don't know who you are. And you can put the helmet on. But here, have a new suit. And then you can go again. And the Sanguinor was like, yeah, sure, whatever. That makes absolutely no cocking sense. Unless the Blood Angels have completely changed their mindset of what the Sanguinor looks like, because they all look like Primaris Marines now, and that's really dumb as well.
And as new Primaris Marines look like to some people, they're just red and gold Ultramarines, which means Gabriel Seth was right, and because he was right, they removed him from the Codex, along with Corbulo and a bunch of other things as well.
Isn't Corbulo dead?
No. Tycho's dead, so they removed him and Tycho the Lost from the Codex. He's gone as well. So is Librarian Dreadnought. Librarian Dreadnought's gone.
That's a disgrace.
And the Furioso's gone as well. But the Furioso have basically been replaced by the Brutalis anyway, so...
That's fine.
And the Jump Sanguinary Priest's gone as well. And so are non-Primaris Death Company. It's all Primaris equipment now, like Assault Intercessors. And... Oh, but the Bile Predator is still there. So it's like one of the few firstborn things that is still there. So yeah. They silenced Gabriel Seth because he knew the truth.
Yeah. But if, however, you are less salty and would like to play Blood Angels for yourselves, the Sanguinary Guard are in the new Combat Patrol, which in itself is ludicrous that the base form, starter army in a box combat patrol, it's a hero, it's a squad of assault intercessors, and then 2 ultra elite shock jump infantry units. Like, some of the most elite infantry in the game units are also in here. I think they showed the rules for the Sanguinary Guard somewhere. I don't know if I've opened that article or if I've shut it again.
I agree. That didn't make sense to me either. I would have expected it to be in its separate box, a separate pack, something, but lumping them all together, I saw that, and that just didn't feel right.
I've no issue with, the Sanguinary Guard being in Combat Patrol. Like, there are some pretty elite units knocking around in there, and let's not forget Custodes are in there too. It's just 2 squads?
I've just noticed something going back to the Sanguinor. The wings... They look a lot more mechanical than the original. The original looked more, like, organic. I don't know if it's just because of the sculpting or it's a paint job or whatever, but... Because the new one, they look very rigid and very uniform.
So do the others, but I think it's more down to... I think it's the shape. I was about to say, it's just down to the paint job, because they're way more layered in the old paint job to look like layers of feathers. But I think it's been sculpted... so that the feathers are not layered in the same way, and the shape isn't the shape that you'd really ever see a natural bird's wings make, or an angel's wings. If you think of the classic Christian imagery of angel wings, the Sanguinor, old Sanguinor had classic Christian angel wings, whereas this has imperial angel wings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but also if you look at his artwork, though, it did look a lot more...
biological.
Organic.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And I think that having organic wings would suit him better, being the type of character he is. Like, he is like, an angel of hope in a sense. Like, he comes in their darkest need. So him actually having actual angel's wings makes him look like, oh, he's an actual angel come to help us kind of thing. Right? It's like, oh, it's mechanical wings now. It's robot angel man.
Yeah, it kind of goes to what I was saying about it seems like they gave him a new suit.
Yeah.
Rather than this being like a natural upgrade that happened naturally. In fact, I'm just going to go and read the article on the Sanguinor one more time.
It's the wrong trousers, Dante, and they've gone wrong.
All right, 2 seconds. I'm just going to read the article. You two talk. I'm just going to read the article.
Yeah, go for it. All in all, I think the Sanguinor's model is fine, because it is just basically an upscale of the original.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish they kind of like kept the original mask rather than replacing it with a effectively a more generic looking helmet. I wouldn't say generic, but just more technological looking helmet, I should say, rather. Because the tubules and like, the big hinges on the side, it does kind of spoil the look, I feel, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I like the more natural look of the mask and of the wings. I think if I was going to change anything about the new model, it would just to be turn the wings back, make them maybe make them a little bigger, and keep the mask. I'm so happy you pointed out that detail. I had no idea. But I definitely prefer the mask version. That's for sure.
Yeah, because the mask version, I tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like a Renaissance statue.
Yes, absolutely.
Like something you find in like, in the Vatican or something,
Yeah,
like the Archangel Michael.
I agree. The mask, I think, is more inspiring than the helmet is.
And plus he still has his nipples.
Yeah, I've just read the article. There's no mention of the fact that he's actually changed. Like, they've just talked about the Sanguinor in exactly the same way as they've always talked about the Sanguinor. Seraphic wings, golden armor, etc. There's no explanation. Like in the Sanguinary Guard portion, they talk about the fact that the relic armor has been retrofitted to work with Mark X. With the Sanguinor, there's no explanation for why he's changed. He just has. I was just reading it to see if they'd done anything in terms of explaining why there's been a slight change, but there hasn't.
Yeah. Because even on, do you remember that there was that 40k mobile game? I've forgotten what it's called, but it's the weird one I gave Shadow Sudden Nose for some weird reason.
Not Tacticus, is it?
I don't know, but the Sanguinor model in that, again, the helmet on that looks more like a mask, like a sculpted mask rather than just a helmet.
But it doesn't even look like you're wearing anything at all. That looks like he's just got a golden face.
Yeah. And that kind of works for like, the fact it looks like he's a sculpted, angel statue in a way. Yeah,
because, I will say for the record, the wings in that piece of artwork do not look organic at all. They look like they're made of stone.
No, but at the same time, it is hard to make, feathers look natural in CG, in a mobile video game. It's
Granted,
hard.
yes. Granted, yes.
I mean, it's even hard in the PS3 and PS4 era, so I chalk that up personally just to technical limitations.
Fair enough.
But anyway, what else we got in the news? Quite a bit, I imagine.
Right. How long are you going to make me wait to talk about Tau? Or because we've got like 2 full army reveals.
Tau, go on.
Because there's 2 full army reveals for AOS, but also Kill Team dropped Operation Hive Storm, a new edition of Kill Team, and as part of that, they did a preview show where they revealed the new box game. It's called Hive Storm, and it pits Tempestus Aquilors, or Aquilors, Aquilons, sorry, which is not Tempestus Scions rebranded. They are Jetpack Tempestus Scions, which look really cool. And we'll come back to them in 10 minutes because that's how long I want to talk about this. I'm kidding, of course. And their opponents are new Vespid. Yes, they did it. They finally updated Vespid. The whole Tau range is now out of resin with a couple of possible exceptions. And my God, they look amazing.
Yes, I'm sure you'll put pics on the screen for us momentarily.
Yeah, sorry. The problem is it's one of those things in this article where the scrollers. The scroll articles, which you can't just grab a screen grab and go. You've got to... All right, there we go. Where... There.
I found one. Don't worry, I found one.
That's all right.
So, same picture. Hey.
So the Vespid Kill Team, as it is a major change in how Vespid work. Up to now, Vespid have always been 1 unit of jump infantry armed with neutron blasters, which are a hilarious anti-space marine gun at strength 6 AP -2, which is very good for coring through small units of space marines. Never had enough shots, never had enough range, but that's not the point. Now, they've really decided to upgrade the Vespid to fit with Kill Team, which means they'd have unique weapon options. Firstly, a flamer, a Tau infantry unit with a flamer. This is a first, and this might surprise you. There is no Tau infantry with a flamer. This is the first time it's come off a battle suit.
Really?
Ever.
Huh.
Yeah, stop and think about it. Fire Warriors all have rifles and carbines. Pathfinders, rifles and carbines. Crew, rifles and grenade launchers. And that's it for infantry. The Tau infantry have never had a flamer option, even though it's ubiquitous across basically every other army's core key infantry units. They don't have a flamer. Now they do in the Vespid. They've also given them a rail rifle for sniper purposes, and they've given them a neutron grenade launcher as well. And they've also included what's called a shade strain. So you've got 2 Vespid wearing helmets. The one with the sort of squarish breacher helmet is the strain leader, so your sergeant equivalent, who is now upgraded with a new oversight drone as they work more closely with a Pathfinder or Chasui out of the operation. Because remember, the Vespid can't speak Tau and the Tau can't speak Vespid, apart from the fact that they've got these helms that apparently allow them to communicate, and it's definitely not brainwashing, no sir. But there's one with a more curved helm as well, and you'll notice that's the similar shape to the stealth suit. That's for a reason. You can now take stealth Vespid.
Oh.
And they did a lore story about this battle, Hive Storm, and literally the thing popping up is like, the Aquilons have got these codifiers for all the different Vespid, and it's just like, unknown, what the hell is this thing? Turns out it's an invisible Vespid.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, we have no idea how this will translate to base game, because kill team to base game is kind of weird, and the Tau Codex isn't that old. So we don't know how Vespid will work in terms of, are they going up to teams of 10 in the base game? Because they've currently been teams of 5. If they are, that will suck. And I'll come back to why. Second, how many unique weapons can you normally take? 3, what does the Shade Strain do in the base game? And 4, what's the point of the drone in the base game? So lots of things that we don't know yet, but the models look fucking sick. Why did they paint them orange?
Yeah, because normally aren't Vespid depicted as being blue?
Yeah, and also orange is horrible to paint. It just is.
They did it to spite you, Neve.
Maybe.
Neve's going to want to buy these, so let's paint them orange.
They could have painted them yellow. It could be worse. But yes, the minis look absolutely amazing, and I'm definitely going to be picking a team up. I'm just very curious as to how this will translate, and I really hope that they don't make them teams of 10 in the base game. Because up to now, all of us who've ever bought Vespid, all 5 of us, have got 5 Vespid. If they make them teams of 10, then they are going to force everybody to buy the new kill team or buy another box of the old Vespid secondhand. So I really hope they don't do that, because that would suck.
As an aside, regarding the new Tempestus Aquilon, I feel they should have just made them Elysian drop troops.
I mean, yeah. I hadn't thought of that, but that would be sick.
Or at the very least, Harakoni Warhawks, you know?
That would also be sick.
But, yeah. I know Tempestus are meant to be like, you know, the elite of the elite when it comes to the Imperial Guard and all that, so... Yeah, but I just wanted more, you know, Elysian drop troops, because Elysian drop troops are awesome.
Yeah, they are, but they do come with loads of options. I think the main reason why they've taken Tempestas is the hotshots, because I don't believe Elysians or Harakonis use hotshot weapons, and I think to keep up with the Vespid, you wouldn't want to be running around with basic las guns. So you wanted an armor-piercing weapon to match up with the neutron blaster, hence they've gone with hotshots rather than anything else.
True. But you can always make up an excuse like, oh, these are like elite Elysians who have access to hotshots or something.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you could, yes. Also, they have a servo sentry, which is just a walking sentry sentry turret that walks around and shoots things, and it can come with 3 different weapons, and people think it's really cute, even though it's a servo sentry, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that thinks it's really cute.
Fair.
He's very tiny, he's got a skull, he's got 4 legs, and he's got a big gun.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, we have no idea when this is coming out. So I think it's going to be hopefully a couple of weeks until we see this get actually dropped, because new edition and all of that, and they've got lots to do. I'm surprised by how not vertical the play space is, though, because this thing is like this massive, like, drop troops operation, as it seems, with these jump hats and winged units, and yet it's a very standard kill team board with not a lot of verticality, and I would have really thought that there would be more verticality than just 2 levels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then I suppose you've got to make the game accessible for everybody else, because God, could you imagine being like the Votan kill team playing on a vertical board? That would be hell.
That'd be hilarious.
Yes, but it would also be hell.
I mean, it's Warhammer 40k. It already is hell.
Point taken. Right, I've said my towel piece now. So, where do you want to go next? So, do you want Age of Sigmar? Because I've got 2 full sets of army reveals I can do for Age of Sigmar. Do you want to talk about the fact that I think they're going to redo the Warp Spiders? Do you want to talk about the full Death Corps army? Do you want to talk about... what else? Do you want to talk about Chaos Dwarves? Do you want to talk about the coolest Inquisitor miniature they've ever made? Do you want to talk about Amazon Prime? What do you want to do?
I'm going to throw a curveball. Let's talk about the fact that we're actually getting a tie-in for an anime.
What?
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, the miniature game, has getting an animated movie called War of the Rohirrim, and it's got a tie-in model from that anime.
Oh, that's the guy from the end of the Nova preview. I just assumed that was some guy from the Silmarillion that no one had heard of nor cared about.
He's from the upcoming War of the Rohirrim anime. There you go.
Right. I mean, to be fair, it's a pretty cool mini for Middle-earth.
For Middle-earth, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's coming as part of the new edition of Middle-earth as well, as a reminder that they are doing a new edition of Middle-earth for those who are interested. And Rohan, it was and is probably my favourite faction because I did look at playing Lord of the Rings a long time ago. So I'd be tempted to, if I were to play it, this would be the edition for me because it's all about Rohan. But yeah, nah.
Fair enough. In which case, we'll talk about Chaos Dwarves for Blood Bowl. Chaos Dwarves.
This was a troll. This was such a troll. Right, the whole Nova preview, which took place a couple of days ago, was crap. Like, I was up hobbying into the night, and I happened to stumble on the fact that Kirioth was live streaming his reactions to the show, and he said it, and I was thinking the same thing. This show was dog shit, but it threw in such a curveball. It was like, hey, we're bringing Chaos Dwarves back, everybody. And everyone's like, what? They're doing Chaos? Oh, it's in Blood Bowl. Oh. Which, considering the fact they'd done Hobgoblins in the last edition of Age of Sigmar, was a bit of a kick in the teeth.
In fairness, these Chaos Dwarves do look really nice.
Oh, yeah,
particularly like the one who's throwing up the ones for the Tribal Chief, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some really nice minis. I give them full credit. The Tsar Nagrund Ziggurats, who've got Hobgoblins to deal with the ball, Chaos Dwarves for smashing people in the face, and also Bull Centaurs as well, just because apparently. But yeah, the minis are great.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay. Where should we go next? I don't know. You pick. Fuck it.
Okay. So I think we should probably sort of mop up Skaven. Because Skaven, we were talking in the last episode about the Hell Crown preview, which Skaven won, shock. So we got a full release of pretty much the entire remaining Skaven range and what they are doing. And there's a lot here to really replace a lot of the stuff that was taken out and retired, sort of as we thought they were going to do. But there's also some new cool stuff as well. So, for example, there is a greater demon of the Horned Rat, like not just a Vermin Lord, like a full-on prophet of the Horned Rat greater demon now, which is called Vizek
Scour.
Vizek Scour, and it is extremely cool.
It looks awesome. It really does.
Yeah,
honestly, I want to get this model just to make a Nurgle Demon Prince for 40k.
Yeah, I think if you change the rat head and moved a few bits around, you could probably do that.
No, I think the rat head will work fine, considering Nurgle's the god of plagues, and rats bring plague historically, don't they? So
that would be perfect.
Yeah, you probably need to change a few. Like the iconography on the staff would need to change, and a few other bits.
Oh yeah, obviously that's easy to do because it's just circle. Just take the Skaven symbol out and just put the 3 Nurgle circles in.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting is I'm getting real Keeper of Secrets vibes off it. Like, the Keeper of Secrets mini when they redid it, the best greater demon of the lot. And it's just got that walking, imposing, I am going to fuck your day up look about it. You know what I mean? The modern Keeper of Secrets model has just got this aura of I am going to ruin your day. And this model has that same sort of striding forward of I am going to destroy you look about him.
And he comes with a little friend.
I saw
Lots
that.
of little friends.
Yeah.
Normally,
This one's holding a little ball of warpstone. He's adorable.
Normally, I'm not a fan of models or minis that look like this. I like more of the Imperium aesthetic, so anything Nurgle, anything that looks a little bit gross to me, I don't like, but I have to appreciate a model that looks this good. Kind of similar to the Mortarian model, even though like I hate to look at it, it's too good to like not appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. There are some ranges that don't appeal to me, and Skaven is one of them, but you can't deny an objectively good mini when you see one.
Absolutely.
But if you are not into demons and would rather keep your Skaven army much more grounded, there's a new named character because Queek Headtaker is dead, and that is Kritok Foulblade. So he is actually able to not sacrifice every single thing that that serves under him. So apparently he is cold, calculating, and frugal. Gladly massacre clan rats en masse, but will keep a few today to more efficiently kill them tomorrow. So it's actually somewhat of a strategist among the Skaven.
Yeah, but in appearance, though, he's still just a poor man's Queek Headtaker, because Queek Headtaker just looked badass.
Yeah. You can't argue with Queek, and I think the lack of a helmet really does this guy no favours. But there's a cool bit of lore going on, which is the sword. Because, here's the funny thing, he's got the Dawn Blade, but backwards.
Well, so it's called, like, the Blade Dawn.
So, it's called Doomfang, and it's a demon blade. The Vermin Lord trapped within it tried to betray Vizik, the greater demon, using Kritok, but this failed. And this is now bound within the blade. His power and skills and long-livedness come down to the blade. However, each time he uses the blade and its power, he bargains with the Vermin Lord for, I need you to help me kill this man thing. Okay, then I get out 5 minutes earlier. Deal. Rinse and repeat for everything. So the Vermin Lord's got a sentence of, let's call it 1,000 years, but every time Kritok wants to fight with it or use it, he's got to, the Vermin Lord's like, I'll do that if you let me out an hour earlier. If I can get out a year earlier because you're really desperate. That kind of thing.
Interesting.
I kind of like that bit of lore.
There's also a new Master Molder, which is no surprise given that it showed up in the box game. There's a different Master Molder, which is sufficiently horrifying.
Very Cronenbergian.
Yep. There's a new Arch Warlock, also known as Poor Man's Ikit Claw, who is also Poor Man's Belisarius Rat, because he looks like he's got in... Because I know it's just the fact that he's got a tail and is hunched over, but you see what I mean about Belisarius' Call a little bit.
I was thinking that when you showed us the photo. Just, looks like Belisarius' Call, but a rat.
Why, Belisarius Crawl.
That's a better
that
pun.
Was good.
Well done.
Yes.
I was like, Belisarius Rat doesn't work. Belisarius Crawl is exceptional. Well done, Remleiz.
Thank you.
They've also done new Storm Vermin. I'm not even going to bother putting the image in because...
I'm just going to say this right now. I'm not putting images of every single Skaven model here. You can check out Warhammer Community if you want to see all of them, but you'll see some of them on the screen, like, Ikit Paw and all that.
Yeah, the Storm Vermin are just Skaven with halberds and armour, and honestly, if you could give one of them twin hand weapons, you could probably make your own Queek Headtaker out of them, just saying. You've got a Warlock Galvania, who uses a Warp Vault Obliterator, which is, yes, that's its name, and it looks like a grenade launcher, but apparently it can be used to charge warp weapons as well, which is hilarious. Acolyte Globadiers, basically new Poisoned Wind Globadiers, they look fine. And the Warp Spark Weapon Battery, which allows you to make new Rattling Guns, Warp Fire Throwers, and the new Warp Vault Scourger, which is presumably some kind of Tesla gun.
Mm.
The warp grind has been redone. That's the dig and drill thing, though I don't know if they can actually use them as tunnels for other units like they used to. Doomflayer's the spinning wheels, but not the good one. And then the Battle Tome. So there's a lot going on here, and I will spare you the details. But yeah, if you like Skaven, you are eating good. If you don't like Skaven, they are eating good on you.
Well, there's also the fact we also got the reveals for the Stormcast as well, which have a couple of big monsters. And they look really good. Though I am curious, why did they give the Griffin a gimp mask?
It's an Executioner's hood, Remleiz. Keep up.
Even so, okay, so why are they giving an Executioner's hood?
Because... Okay, because the guy on top is the first guy who ever killed another Stormcast.
Oh.
He is their Asterath.
Right.
So, Iridan the Witness was a scholar who became a Stormcast, yada yada. But they have an eidetic memory. And...
That's unusual for a Stormcast.
That was a part of the transformation process. They gained an eidetic memory. And that means that they remember literally everything. Now, the thing is that when one of their colleagues, comrades who was suffering from reforging so badly, he put them down. Like, he deaded the Stormcast.
Oh.
And he went to Sigmar to answer for his crimes and gave such a passionate case to Sigmar of why he did it and the reasons behind it, that Sigmar was like, you know what, fair enough. That's your job now. Also have a giant bird.
Fair enough. I must say, though, I do prefer the version of the giant bird without the hood, though. It just looks a bit more regal.
Yeah, it's called a Morgriff, because that links to the death god Morda, and you're completely welcome to make Iridan's bird that way if you so desired, I'm sure.
I was going to say, it's called a Morgriff because it's easier for Games Workshop to trademark.
Mm-hmm.
And that.
Yeah, in fairness, it does look really good, that griffin.
Absolutely.
I know it's a Morgriff, but I'm going to call it a griffin because it's a griffin, let's be honest.
I'm just going to call it Buckbeak. Sorry.
Oh, Buckbeak.
Buckbeak.
Perfect.
Buckbeak.
Harry Potter.
Hang on, wasn't that a hippogriff, though?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It does look like a hippogriff.
I'm just being pedantic. It's like, there's a difference between hippogriffin, griffin, and ursagriff and all that. And yes, ursagriff is the thing as well. That's like part bird, part bear.
Yeah, I gathered that.
Was this
but
one?
not to be confused with owlbears.
Does this one have? I don't have the 360. Is it a lion at the end, or is it just bird at the end?
If you look,
back legs.
If you look at the side on, because there is a side on of Iridan, then I'll show you, and you can make your mind up. Oh, you beat me to it. You can make that decision for yourself. It's definitely not fully a bird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't really tell.
Agreed.
But
however,
the models are beautiful.
Agreed. And if you are into Stormcast and were an AOS 1 Stormcast stan, like I was, you'll be pleased to know that they've actually finally, for the first time ever, released the Lord Relictor from the AOS 1 starter box.
Is it the same model or just a new take on it?
It's a new one.
Ah.
It looks almost exactly the same, because I have that Lord Relictor, but they have redone it with the Thunderstrike armor. So, new Lord Relictor, which is a priest model. You've got a new Lord Celestant, which is your equivalent to like a Space Marine captain or whatever. And they've actually made it customizable this time. So you've got great weapons, shields, swords, hammers, actual variety of weapons, which the Lord Celestant did not have before in its old kit. The Lord Terminus, which you first saw in the Skaven Tide box, although this is a slightly more varied one with head options and weapon options and things like that.
One moment, one slight tangent. For the Lord Terminus model, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact the guy holding the hourglass, that the sand detail, that's all painted.
Is it?
It's gorgeous.
There's nothing in it. That's painted. That's hand painted. There's nothing, it's not translucent or anything like that, or transparent rather. That's all hand painted detail. That's magnificent. So to whoever painted that, well fucking done, sir or ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. That's crazy.
I love that mini. It looks so good.
And going back to like the was it the Lord Relicant, whatever his name? Relictor. God, so many Space Marine chaplains wish they could look as cool as him.
Yeah, the Stormcast have a problem of, because they are AOS Marines, sometimes they just end up showing the Marines up. Do you remember the Lord, I want to say not Lord Vigilant, I think one of the Knight Executioner type models from like an edition or two ago, who had the black cloak. I've forgotten its title now, but you know the one I mean.
Yeah. And we were just saying, just stick a Space Marine backpack on, there you go, that's a captain or a chapter master.
Yeah, or even like, I think it was one that was like a proper chaplain, like a proper chaplain. I've forgotten its name now, but it doesn't matter.
This one, just stick a backpack on, you got a Space Marine chaplain.
Indeed you do. And if you really want to keep going, Reclusians get their own standalone plastic kit. That's the heavy armoured guys, as you would expect, to go with Liberators and all of that. The new unit...
Again, if you want to see the images for everything, please check out Warhammer Community. I'm not posting every single thing on this, so...
Yes, absolutely. The unique new unit is Stormstrike Paladors. So these are actual, like, they're shock cavalry of sorts. Because Stormcast Cavalry's been in a weird place. Because Stormcast Cavalry, you've had two types of cavalry in the past. You've had the Dracoth Cavalry, which are units of 2 with insane armor and defense, and ridiculous power, because they were literally riding wingless baby dragons. Then you had Vanguard Paladors, who were your fast cavalry, could literally teleport, and were more for harassment and shock charges.
Hang on. Weren't Paladors already a thing?
Vanguard Paladors were.
And what are these ones again?
Stormstrike Paladors.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it's the same mounts, Griff Chargers, but they're more heavily barded and armoured. The idea being they are the hammer, well, not even the hammer that breaks the anvil. They're your last commit of, right, if we charge now, we win, kind of shock cavalry. They don't just run in, cause havoc, or run around on harassment. Like, we go into fight, we're there now. So they're a bit tougher than Vanguard Cav, and a bit faster than Dracoth Cav. They kind of sit in the middle ground. They do look cool, and I've always been a sucker, and I've said this many times on this podcast, for chunky, heavy cavalry, as they are kind of my weakness as an AOS player and a fantasy player. It was always chunky, heavy cav, Dragon Princes, Blood Knights, Dracoth Cavalry, Chaos Knights, Varangard, etc. These guys are very nice, but I'm not going to get back into Stormcast just to play them.
Fair enough. I want to try and speed through a bit more, considering the time we still got quite a bit to get through. So, yeah, we'll talk about that Inquisitor now, shall we?
Yes, Warhammer Plus has done its 4th year mini. I can't remember what year we're on now. So this is Inquisitor Ostromandius from the Ordo Hereticus. It comes with custom armor, power sword, infernal pistol, a vox skull, and a servitor that kills people by shouting at them. Apparently. I love this model.
That's an interesting choice. I like the model too.
That's a fantastic model.
Yes, and it makes me really even more annoyed that they haven't done a generic Inquisitor kit for the Imperial Agents book. They should have done that. That was a massive miss. Cities of Sigmar has a free guild marshal and their squire, and they're fine.
If you collect Cities of Sigmar, they're good. But
yeah,
otherwise,
but they're nothing special compared to the standard free guild marshal. He's nothing special.
No. But I do love the fact that Inquisitor has servants like just covered in speakers and microphones and all that. It's great. He's even got like the
sounds
xenomorph
like he could be a
well. Streamer.
Hey.
With his xenomorph head crest as well. Oh, do you reckon that's a reference to Parasaurolophus?
Who?
You know, the dinosaur, Parasaurolophus. Because they have the long head crest, which acts like a resonating chamber.
Oh. That's really clever if they planned that.
Yeah, I'm no paleontologist.
I'll just get a picture of the dinosaur. Hang on one second, just find.
Well, while you do
I'll just get the generic Jurassic Park one. But yeah, they got the massive crest, which acts like as a resonating chamber to amplify their calls.
Oh, that's quite clever.
I would just call that to me. That's called a parasaur, and that's what I think that's why I got confused, because that looks like a Parasaur, but that's because I grew up on Power Rangers Dino Thunder, and that's what I knew it as.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's me showing my age. Right. I want to very quickly fire through the actual thing from the roadmaps at Nova, because at Nova they basically showed off the Stormcast, the Blood Bowl thing, and then talked for like half an hour about everything they're doing next. And I want to be fast. So,
go for it.
They're doing a full Death Corps army.
Oh, that's interesting.
You can watch the interview if you don't believe me. They are expanding the Death Corps range beyond the kill team. They're doing it properly.
That is surprising.
A division of new plastic kits, taking them from a kill team to an army. That's what they're saying. So when the Militarum get their codex, it won't be Cadians, it will be Death Corps. So we might actually get Death Riders and Mortars and all that.
Cool. So when are they going to redo the Catachan kits?
God's only knows.
Because they're still back from 3rd edition.
Also, at some point this year, some point upcoming, there is something special coming for Chaos. They're being very cagey about what it is. But then they've confirmed that next year they are doing Eldari, and they specifically said Aspect Warriors, which means they might actually redo the Warp Spider kit.
I'll believe that when I see it.
I will believe it when I see it, but maybe just...
I'll tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be like brand new Fire Dragons for a new Plastic Fuegan.
Probably.
Or a new Plastic Swooping Hawks for a new... Actually, no, you know what? Brand new Swooping Hawks, because they need an update as well, because they're still using the 3rd edition models. So brand new Swooping Hawks with a new Baharov, I'd be down for that.
As long as it also came with Warp Spiders.
I mean, I'll take what I can get at this point.
Or actually, would they actually bother? Is the meme of the Warp Spider kit worth killing over a new plastic kit? Is it worth killing the meme?
Probably not, no. I mean, we've already hit the 30-year mark, so what's one more?
They're also doing Imperial Knights next year at some point, which is worth noting. That's nothing of interest.
Do you know what I think the special Chaos treat is? Emperor's Children Codex.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
They've already dropped their index, haven't they? So
yes, they have. Old World confirms that after Warriors of Chaos, which are currently in their release cycle, they'll be doing Empire and High Elves. That's worrying, because High Elves were my faction.
Oh.
Also worth noting that they intend to make everything in full-scale Heresy playable in Legions Imperialis.
Oh, nice.
But they are focusing on expanding the ranges they currently have next year, rather than introducing new factions. So they were quite clear of, we're looking to expand Space Marines, Legion-specific units, finish off Mechanicum, expand Solar, that kind of thing. They're not going to be dropping things like Custodes next year, or Sisters of Silence, or whatever, so don't get your hopes up. And like I said, with Old World, it's Empire and High Elves next, which scares the hell out of me, but yes.
And we've also got a brand new show on Warhammer Plus called The Tithes.
And also worth noting, if you're into your animations, Secret Level, which is an anthology of animated stories on Amazon Prime, will be including a Space Marine 2 tie-in episode following Lieutenant Titus. So, I know it's not the big Amazon Prime thing that everyone's been talking about, but it shows that,
Can you imagine if it was, though? Can you imagine all this hype was just for the fact of like, oh yeah, it's going to use this anthology. All it's going to show is like, Secret Level, produced by Henry Cavill. And everyone's going to be like, this was it? Kind of thing. Be like that SpongeBob meme was like, that was it? It was just 5 minutes of whining. Kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh yes, so that's a thing. So they're working with the team behind Love, Death and Robots, which I've not watched, but apparently it's very good.
I've heard good things about it though.
Yeah, so they've worked with the Warhammer studio. They're, and I quote, an animation we're proud to present as a definitive Warhammer story. That's a direct quote from the article.
Didn't they say the same thing about the Ultramarines movie though?
Don't remember.
Because that wasn't very good.
Yes. Final note, if you live in the UK, you can get the new Partworks magazine called Combat Patrol. And if you do literally see it through, you get 9 Combat Patrols if you buy everything.
Oh, yeah, because like the first issue, that's already out. It's like £2.
Yeah, I've seen adverts on the telly for it.
Yeah, I've seen in the news. It's like £2.99, and you get like a winged Tyrant Prime and a Space Marine Terminator Captain.
Yeah, the price will then
$2.99.
rocket after that.
Yeah, but even so, $2.99, bargain. Because you just buy those models on your own. You're spending like upwards of £30 for one
50.
of them, probably. Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if you do decide to get this and see it through, you get the combat patrols for Space Marines, Nids, Eldar, Chaos, Orcs, Votan, Genestealers, Guard, and World Eaters.
I wish I lived in the UK.
And an additional unit not found in their usual combat patrols. I spy of Mine Lies something beginning with Wraithlord, for example, in the... and what looks like a Boomdacker Snaz wagon. That's something that's not normally there. And other things. But there's also a premium upgrade, which includes a Brutalis Dreadnought and a Hive Tyrant, a Demon Prince, Howling Banshees, a Rogel Dawn, a full suite of Genestealer Cult heroes, Killer Cans, and the Votan Heavy guys if you buy the premiums. So if you want to go from just, I own 9 different combat patrols to, I own 9 different armies, there you go, bro.
I should also reiterate it's the Rogel Dawn tank, not the Primarch.
Oh, that's a good distinction, because I was pretty sure there wasn't a mini out yet. I didn't want to get my hopes up, though.
Well, there is, but not for this time frame.
Right.
And that means that within an hour, we've got through 3 weeks of news, including 2 preview shows. Jesus Christ, I'm almost impressed.
Da, 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 da.
Yes, go us.
It need to be done. Also, there was also the brand new Infernus Marine Sergeant.
That's in episode 5.
Yeah. But even so, brand new Space Marine model with his... I like this one. I thought he's standing over a flaming Nid head. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, the Infernus Marines are pretty nice in general. I've got a squad of them for the club army at school, so yeah, I do like the minis.
Anything with fire, I love. So I love the pose that he's standing on the flaming head. I think it's perfect.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Infernus weapons originally only belong to Black Templars?
Correct. Pyroblasters were in the Black Templars Crusader squads to start with, and then became full squads in Leviathan.
I kind of prefer, like, you know me, I don't really think too highly of Black Templars anyway, but I think that weapon should have kind of stayed with them as like an exclusive
Salamanders.
thing. Well, maybe Salamanders as well, but even so, like, it should not be available to all, I feel. It should give some armies some unique weapons just to give them a bit more character, like an incentive to play them kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think it's something that Blood Angels players, as much as we've ragged on some of the Blood Angels minis, I don't think sometimes Blood Angels players know how good they've got it.
Yeah. Especially with things like the Bile Predator and stuff like that, because, like, even with the Land Raider Crusader, which was originally just Black Templars only, that got to the point where everyone had one. Yeah, Bile Predator is still just Blood Angels, and their successors, obviously.
Yeah, and if you look down the unique models per army section, let's just take them, shall we? Blood Angels get Death Company Dreadnoughts, 4 different heroes, Sanguinary Guard, and the Bile Predator, and that's just off the top of my head. Actually, correction, 5 different heroes off the top of my head, because you've got Mephiston, Dante, Lamartes, Asterath, and the Sanguinor. Oh, and also Sanguinary Priests, you get unique apothecaries too. Dark
Sadly,
Angels...
no more Librarian Dreadnoughts, though.
No, true. Space Wolves get a couple of heroes, and Wolfen and Thunderwolves. Actually, are Thunderwolves still in Space Wolves? I assume they are.
I haven't checked, to be honest.
No, because they're not Primaris, so I don't know if they actually got done. But Space Wolves get a couple of units. Dark Angels get a fair few heroes, but actually the only unique units they get is... Well, actually, no, they get Deathwing and Ravenwing and the new companion, so I'll shut up. But Black Templars is down to, as it was before, 3 heroes. Deathwatch is in the Inquisition Codex now. So, yeah, it's one of those...
Salamanders is a hero, or 2.
Imperial Fist and all the other ones that live within the Codex are just
1 or 2 heroes, yeah.
Yeah, I think something that they might want to look to do with the Space Marines, and I know it would increase the bloat, is give each chapter not just a unique hero, but a unique unit. Kind of like they do with the legions in Heresy, where each legion had a couple of unique heroes, sure, but they also had at least 1 unique unit. Either a unique Terminator squad, or a unique infantry squad, or a Psyker unit, or a unique Dreadnought, or just something special that is just for them.
Or at the very least, you know, a unique equipment loadout. Because, like, there was something like, going back to 3rd edition, for example, like Space Marine Tactical Squads, the heavy weapons you could take like Heavy Bolter, or a Missile Launcher, or a Las Cannon, whatever. But if you played salamanders, your tactical squads could also take multi-melters, as an example. That was like one of the rules they had.
Oh, that's before my time, I think.
Yeah, so that actually helped to theme salamander squads towards heat-based weaponry. So have flamers and multi-melters in your squads, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think probably the best way to do that is probably not. There's two ways to do it. There's unique units, or there's actually making enhancement systems worth taking. So to use that as an example, you should be able, as salamanders, to if you take a salamander's detachment, have one of your enhancement options that you can take for free because it's a side grade. That one of your squads of intercessors, maybe not intercessors. Oh god, a complete lack of flexibility of Space Marine units is a problem.
Yeah.
That one of your intercessor squads may replace 2 models with a Pyre Blaster equivalent. Or you should be able to, I'm sure Black Templars have an ability to make Crusader squads. I'm sure they do. And actually properly make Crusader squads. But there must be a system by which, I don't know, White Scar bikers can take a free enhancement that changes their loadout, or they can, for no cost, one of their bike units gains a special ability, or
because I think in third edition, in the Index of Stars article, because that was back when Index of Stars articles also had army lists in them as well. I'm fairly sure White Scars had the option you could actually take bike squads as a troop choice rather than fast attack. I think
in 5th edition you could do that if you took exactly Corsaro Khan. I think you could do that, though I'm willing to be corrected.
But obviously force organisation chants aren't a thing anymore, are they? So
no, and battle line units don't mean that much now aside from objectives secured. They don't mean anything in terms of actually army building aside from, I think, objectives secured. So I feel like they do need to do something, because the non-codex compliant chapters, you're either got lows or you've got next to nothing. And the codex compliant chapters genuinely only have a couple of heroes unless they're Ultramarines. When the Ultramarines had their unique Tyrannic War Veterans unit, for example, that would be a great unit to put back in the codex because, the Tyranids are everywhere and the Ultramarines have kind of been the front line. So that would be a great unit to put back in, and then give White Scars a special, I don't know, I'm just going to call them Trigorian Hunters unit, which is Outriders with power swords. Or Salamanders, which is a Pyre Blaster squad, but can also take melters in the same unit, or maybe they get a benefit or something. Just something to give each codex compliant chapter more flavour than just a couple of special rules and unique enhancements, which are not to be sniffed at.
A Salamander Pyre Blaster squad that if they don't move that turn, they can shoot twice. Because back in the 2nd edition, that's a rule that Space Marines all had for their bolters. If they didn't move, they could shoot twice.
And this was a long time ago when game balance wasn't a thing.
I think they also had that rule back in 3rd as well. I'm fairly sure.
3rd edition's so broken they had to reboot it halfway through.
I mean, is it any different from 8th and 9th? 9th got broken, didn't it?
I mean, 7th and 9th both got broken, I'll grant you that.
And 7th was also ridiculously bloated, so they streamlined it and then they bloated it again immediately.
Yeah, anyway, that's a separate rant. We could be here all day.
That is a separate rant, yes.
Right.
I was thinking, because we didn't get around to doing them last time, do you want to move on to the questions now?
Sure. I've got the last episode up in front of me. I'll just need to get the episode before as well, so give me a moment.
Yeah, take all the time you need. But yeah, in the interim, I've tried reading through Kjalmar's Skull. Even though it's only a novella, even though I've read through Descent of Angels and Damnos, this is the only book I've ever tapped out on.
Wow.
I tapped out.
Wow.
And again, it's only a novella. I tapped out. I was like, no.
Holy Christ, that's bad.
What page did you tap out on?
I've got the book sitting here. Let me just double check the page because I've got a little bookmark in. I tapped out on page 82.
Of?
Oh.
82 of 126.
God, you made it 2/3 of the way and still tapped.
Yeah.
God.
Wow.
I mean, let me put it this way. There's a lot of questionable decisions in this book and a whole bunch of spelling mistakes. Like, you got the Sisters of Battle against, entering a neuron tomb complex. It's meant to be Necron. Or they meet a tech priest of the Adeptus mech Anarchus.
That's bad. That's really bad.
I'm just like, did someone just hit spell check and just click yes without checking or something? I don't know. But
that's poor.
Oh, and also, Sisters of Battle Squad gets attacked by a pack of flayed ones. Just casually one-shot them all. Bang, bang, bang. They're all dead.
No.
I'm thinking, hang on. Does reanimation protocol not mean a thing? I'm fairly sure, gets leg blow, it'll just rebuild itself. Haha, you have to do more damage than that. No, bang, bang, they're all dead. Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Or the Space Marine Librarian who casts haste. As if it's Final Fantasy. So you got these Space Marine infiltrators moving ridiculously fast because he's casting haste on them. Which
the spell's called the Quickening.
Yeah. That just made me laugh, though. I'm not saying that's inaccurate, but that just made me laugh. Because I was just reminded of that one scene from Transformers Prime when Bulkhead was running, but there was an animation error, so he was running ridiculously fast over a tiny distance.
Oh dear. Well, it's a shame. I've actually managed to get through 2 books. I've managed to read Bad Loon Rising, the Goblin book, and I read Deathworlder, the Katachan novel as well. But
how were they?
Well, I finished both of them very quickly, but that's say all it needs to. But we'll do questions first and then we'll double back because otherwise we won't.
Fair enough.
Right. So there's a question here about what should a Leagues of Votann book cover? Well, they actually released that snippet of a Votann novel and then we talked about it in the following episode, so we've already done that.
It should cover drinking and grudges, like all dwarf books should.
Absolutely.
Or to tie into the memes, something rock and stone. Deep Rock Galactic? No? Okay.
Sorry. Right. There's a question I think is mainly based on one of your videos, Remleiz, actually, about one of your newcomers videos. Do we know if the casually ignoring the Dark Angels Legion building as a counterbalance to Guilliman is still the view of the High Lords of Terror?
I don't know, because ever since Lionel Johnson came back, that could have changed the implication entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why this person's asking, in the wake of Lion being back, has it just not come up yet? Do they still...
I don't think... at the very least, I've not encountered it personally. It might have been raised in the Lazarus novel, but I've not read that yet, so I can't say. But from what I've seen, nothing's referenced that at all. But if I had to guess, though, I imagine the High Lords are probably thinking, oh shit, maybe we shouldn't have done that, because another one of these bastards is back now, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that it may be that the High Lords are, not really that aware. They'll know Lion's back, absolutely, but Lion's mostly an Imperium nihilist, just running around taking names and kicking ass, because he can. As far as I understand it, he's not really in Imperium Sanctus very much. So maybe they'd look at it and go, well, he probably needs a legion because he's the far side of the void. And if you know what, a lot of them are going to die on that side, so it doesn't really matter. Maybe.
You think the High Lords care about who dies over there? It's
no, that's what I mean.
No, well, we lost another world. Better than army to take it back. We're going to lose about 100 billion troops. Don't matter. We can get more.
No, but the fact that, they've got a mini legion. Well, half of them are probably going to die because they're an Imperium nihilist. That's fine then. Problem solved itself.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Which model per faction needs a remake the most due to age, bad design, or being hard to build? And this person specifically says, barring Eldari, because that's striking scorpions in their case. And I quote the questioner.
Striking scorpions? They just got a brand new set of models of the kill team.
I mean, this question was written a month ago, so unless... No, the
Striking Scorpions came out a while back.
Maybe they mean warp spiders and just messed up, I don't know.
Because out of the Eldari, it is definitely the warp spiders. We're still using 2nd edition sculpts.
Shining spears, though?
They're 4th edition now, aren't they?
Are they that? Actually, yeah, true. I mean,
the Swooping Hawks are 3rd edition.
Yeah, but anyway, we could get into the semantics of how old the Eldari range is, but let's try and go a bit wider, a bit quicker. Tau is a problem because it was Vespid, and then after that it was Kroot, and they've redone the whole lot of Vespid and Kroot in the past year. Genuinely, I don't think there is a bad model in the Tau range anymore. For
Imperial Guard, the Catachan.
Yeah,
the Catachan
I'll
gives
give
me
it
the upgrading, definitely.
Yeah, and by which we mean specifically the Jungle Fighters kit, because the Catachan Command Squad, they redid it in 5th, and it's actually really stood up. Dark Eldar got a full reboot. I think the answer would have been Mandrakes, but they redid them recently for a kill team, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Orcs. I don't think I mean, the Grot kit's fine. Just no.
Oh my god! Sorry, I'm just looking at the Space Marines. I just noticed the price of a tactical squad.
Oh god.
37 quid.
Oh.
What?
Oh my god.
I remember when they cost a tenner.
I think when I got into the hobby, they were about 18 quid, because when I got into the hobby, a squad of Orc boys was 12.
Like, how can you justify 37 quid for a tactical squad? Oh my god. I mean, I don't know. I know there was the price hikes recently, but still.
There's been 2 rounds of price hikes. That's
the same price as the Codex.
So what I'm hearing is that this is a bad time to start in the hobby, that I'm a little screwed here.
Correction. It's a bad time to get what you want in the hobby.
Okay, no, that's a good correction.
No, correction. Now's a good time to start with that magazine subscription.
If only I lived in the UK.
Well, this is what I mean about the fact that if you get, let's say, Space Marines, and you play and you want to get the Combat Patrol, it's £100 UK, whatever that is where you are. Mm-hmm. But most of the Combat Patrols are a full army in a box, and the rules are available for free. So if you just want a 40k army that you can pick up and play, then it's there. You can get it without actually having to try. You just need to be willing to say, this is all I've got and this is all I'm ever going to have. Like, taking Space Marines as the example, because, well, we were just talking about tactical squads. Combat Patrol Space Marines, it's the bloody contents of the Leviathan box, so it's 10, 12 dudes, but bad example. Dark Angels, more reasonable. 3 elite infantry, 5 Hellblasters, 10 intercessors, and a Gravis captain. A basic army, but a decent army to pick up and play with. Like a good solid core for a Space Marine army. If you're comfortable with that being your army, and then you only supplement it with bits and bobs, it's actually not that bad. And the rules are free. It's only really when you start saying, I need to pay 33% of my army on top for the book, that it really starts to bite.
Okay.
I just noticed the price of 5 custodians, 40 quid. For 5 custodians.
Or you could buy 5 custodians. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe 10. Sorry, 10 custodians and some Alaris Terminators and a Blade Captain for 100.
Sounds like I need to save up.
Yeah. This is the thing I've very much made clear to my pupils at Warhammer Club, is very much, do not, if you come to Warhammer Club, you use what we have. Don't buy anything. If you want something in the future, then that's fine. But do not go out of your way to buy anything, because you will just waste your money and you might get it wrong.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's not good. Anyway,
that was depressing, wasn't it?
So, welcome to economics of Warhammer. It's always awful. The economics of Warhammer are awful.
I've heard that. I've heard that a lot.
I mean, if you want a load of skulls, I would say back 115 quid.
Oh, is it just that giant pack that's just all skulls?
No, that's the Demon Engine, basically the giant Khorne Berserker on tank treads.
Oh, that one.
Question that I should know the answer to, but I don't. do Tau get the same feeling of unease from a blank as a normal non-psycho-human does?
I would assume so.
Yeah, I would assume so, but we've never seen a Tau fight a Sister of Silence, and I don't remember
They do. They do, because remember, Alvar was killed by a Calexis assassin, and his bodyguards were like, their heads were like, the president, I'm being crushed.
Yeah, because that was what I was trying to recall, is can I remember the bit where Alvar got murdered? And I was trying to remember, and I couldn't. But yes,
because Alvar was killed by Calexis, and his bodyguards were like, couldn't stand being in its presence. Like they were clasping their heads in pain kind of thing.
Yes, that does sound right.
I'm fairly sure it's in the artwork as well.
Yeah, but that could also be they're disoriented because of any other number of reasons, because it's the Assassinorum doing bullshit.
True. But it does kind of still support the idea, though. I just found the image, so... He's the guy's like, I'm right next to a Calexis, my head hurts, and all the other Fire Warriors nearby are also clutching their heads in pain.
Alvar's bodyguards and, the actual ethereal guards aren't.
That could be just either because A, they're just out of range of the aura, or B, they're just that much more disciplined.
I mean, yeah, Alvar doesn't give a rat's red arse, but then he's also supposed to be Captain Stoic, so... I
mean, the aura is an area of effect, so they could just be out of range.
I mean, if it's out of range, then that Culexus needs to work on the kit, because that effective range is about 4 feet. Like, a Culexus should have a longer range than 2 to 4 feet.
Yeah, but that's a passive ability, though, rather than an active ability.
Yeah, true.
But when he's actually active, because the active ability comes out of that big cannon that's attached to his head.
Yes, that is true.
So basically all you got to do is just look at Alvar, go, Hadouken! And Alvar's dead. And
I feel like in that moment...
program.
I feel like in that moment, this is the opportunity to use the active ability and just instead of just relying on the passive one. Like, you're so close to your target. Go in guns blazing, in my opinion.
I think that's what he's doing, because if you look at it in his hand, he's holding a grenade.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
In his right arm.
Yeah,
so he's probably just like, right, prep the grenade, whoop, boom. I cast Fireball. I know they're psych out grenades before anyone comments.
Yes.
Which makes you wonder why would they use anti-psycho grenades on a Tau Ethereal?
Because they didn't... Well, I think it's partially just insurance, because they weren't sure, because no one knows how the Ethereals fucking work.
In Alvar's case, it's via Windows 95.
Badumts.
Because he's
dear, oh dear. Which faction is the most disliked across the fandom? Eldar. That's easy. I can answer that question for you. What's the most mundane thing an Inquisitor can do? Probably get someone to order them a coffee.
I was going to say paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, one last one that I think is... Oh, actually, this was an interesting one. Have we ever gotten a confirmed height for the Emperor? Like, Lionel Johnson supposedly using the one-shoulder shield emblem that is depicted with the art as a full-size shield. So,
kind of
he's a shapeshifter.
did. As per Deliverance Lost, when Corvus Corax saw the Emperor's true form, he was described as being a man of average height. So about 5'7".
Which, considering that he goes toe-to-toe with Horus, well,
yeah, but that's also...
armor's...
What?
Remember, the form we all see, that's a glimmer. And that's the form that the Sisters of Silence will see as well. The form that Corax briefly saw.
But
yeah, I mean, the Emperor is basically a shapeshifter.
I just imagined he'd be taller than 5'7". That blows my mind. I would thought at least 5'10", 5'11", not
Well, considering
5'7".
he was Alexander the Great, average height for the time was probably a lot shorter than that. So
about
he can't have been that tall.
Right.
He was known as Alexander, and he was known as Neoth, to which John Grammaticus found that absolutely hilarious. So he was like, Neoth, what a stupid name. And I disconnected?
Oh,
no,
nope.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it... can I sneak one more in? Okay, one more.
One more.
I've seen so many orcs with very traditional orking weapons, but they're a looting race. Have you seen orc models or read of instances of orcs, and I quote, retrofitting alien weapons into their arsenal?
I mean, technically, you could argue that with when they did that with Imperial weaponry.
Yeah, like flash kits and snaz guns have got plasma weapons or melter weapons or flamers or whatever you like built into them.
There was also lascans, which, well, in 2nd edition they were just called lascans, but in Gorka Morka they were known as big blasters.
Yeah,
because Gorka Morka was what introduced the more orky terms for weaponry, like, shooters and sluggers and all that. Because in 2nd edition it was just bolters and las cannons and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, looted wagons, they can absolutely use other people's weaponry, but in terms of if you gave a mech boy the chance to build their own gun or take I'm just going to say, shuriken cannon and run with it, generally it will end up being so cannibalized and or bastardized that it won't really resemble the weapon it was before.
It's not only that, it's also the fact that, well, things like, shuriken catapults, they're generally quite quiet weapons, and you also can go, I'm not going to have a fucking quiet weapon, I want something that goes bang and daka. So I'm going to get the biggest gun I can find. So, an Imperial autocannon, that'll do nicely, because that goes daka daka, yeah, stick that on, kind of thing. But like a shuriken catapult, all it goes is just goes, not loud enough.
Yeah, or like,
boom.
Don't Necron weapons phase out when the Necrons die, or is that just old lore?
Well, I don't think they phase out considering like the Deathwatch, use Necron swords, don't they?
Point, but I feel like there was a thing when Necron warriors died that all their tech when they phased out, all their tech went with them.
It can do, but there's also instances where it doesn't.
Ah, good old consistent 40k writing right there.
It's not just that, it's the fact that if the bit of the body that controls the phasing out is damaged, they can't, because that's been damaged.
Well, yeah, true.
Oh, yeah, that's... Yeah.
Do you remember, actually, you might remember this from like the older days of Necrons, when the army could just wipe partway through the game because of the phase-out mechanic? I don't remember the exact intrinsics of it, but until the Great Necron retcon of 5th edition, like that period of Necrons in 3rd and 4th and early 5th, like if they got down to like 25% strength, they could just wipe and phase out.
It was basically an equivalent of like the Warhammer Fantasy, like, oh, your Vampire Count's army had the vampire die, well, your entire army's going with it.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, the Necron Lord died, goes your army. It was like it was like a certain army percent threshold or something.
I know, but it was the same basic principle though. So
yeah, but then they did it with demons as well because they had the demonic instability rule.
Yeah,
like if the weird. Demons, like I think it was like if demons failed a leadership test, like it was basically the AOS battle shock system, but before the battle shock system. Like if you failed your leadership check, then demons just died instead of you running away. But also, if you rolled a double 1 for your leadership check, half your unit came back again because of a surge of demonic power or some crap. It was so weird.
Yeah, just a tad.
But I suppose it's one of those of, yeah, it was weird, but also unique flavour. Like, that's the one thing that I think modern 40k in its attempts to be balanced is kind of lost. And this is not just a shade on 40k. AOS has kind of had the same problem of it's trying to simplify and streamline its mechanics, therefore also try and be game balanced. Therefore, the said mechanics have been massively simplified and are far less unique. Like, Tau have gone from an army where if your ethereal died, everybody took a battle shock check, but then after that leadership check, if your army didn't run away, your entire army then got furious charge. Because it's like, we're so pissed off that you killed the ethereal, now we're mad at you. Even though Tau were not and have never been a melee army, but they could get furious charge, apparently. Now, failure is not an option. Do you know what it does? Current ethereal rules. You know what it does?
No.
It gives the unit the ethereal's attached to feel no pain.
Oh.
That's it.
Seems a bit underwhelming.
Yeah. That's literally it. That's all it does. No leadership benefits. No strategic boost. Invocation of the Elements, gone. Like, it's full on fucking gone. So, yeah. They've really simplified mechanics to make the game easier to access, and therefore a lot of the unique flavour has kind of gone.
Yeah, do you remember when Nids had the instinctive behaviour rules?
I loved the instinctive behaviour rules. And the synapse system, because it made target priority fucking important.
I haven't heard about the instinctive behavior rules. Tell me about them.
Right. Crash course. 5th edition. So, how much do you know about Tyranids currently? Like the idea of synapse creatures?
Very little.
Right, so synapse creatures are powerful Tyranids that have a direct link to the hive mind. Think hive tyrants, think zoanthropes, think Tyranid warriors, like elite powerful units.
Okay, got it.
In the lore, these units direct the hordes. They direct traffic, as it were, and keep the hordes on track.
They're officers, essentially.
Okay, that makes sense.
But not through, like, bossing and pointing by literal mind control.
Okay.
But the rules went that if your Tyranid units were in range of a synapse creature, they were fearless. They could not run away, they could not panic, they could not... All of these things. They were utterly fearless. But if you killed the synapse creatures, which was a lot easier to do because things like lone operative were not a thing, then units that were in the synapse bubble now A, had to take leadership checks on their abysmal leadership, so were very likely to run away, and B, without the direct control of a synapse creature, were likely to not do what the hive mind wants and revert to their base instinct. So you had to take a leadership check on abysmal leadership, and if you failed it, your units either bum rushed the enemy or ran for cover.
I really like that. That gives it a lot of like flavor and makes it exciting in the game.
Yeah, it was, because it taught Tyranid players about overlapping zones and aura abilities really neatly, and it taught everybody else about actual fucking target priority. Because holy hell, learning 40k, you need to learn target priority. The days of the distraction card effects were really important, and nowadays, there's none of that. Synapse creatures, like, I don't even know what they do anymore. And that's really bad, because it used to be the most important single mechanic to playing against Tyranids.
Yeah, I really like that, because when you have the synapse creatures, you really have to play tactically, like on both sides. You mentioned earlier, having target priority, but also being very strategic in how you set up your quote-unquote officers. I really like that. It's a shame that they don't have that anymore.
Yeah, that sort of role now has been passed to the Imperial Guard because of the officers and the orders mechanic, which was also from 5th edition and brilliant. But they've actually kept it for Guard, which is really nice. But yeah, I do feel like some armies just don't have the flavour they used to. Some do, some don't. And some have actually gained flavour. I will say this, Chaos Marines, with their Dark Pax ability, the fact they can pray to the gods every turn for lethal hits or sustained hits or whatever, and rerolls and stuff, is actually kind of cool. But a lot of the unique, particularly downside mechanics that have a detriment if your opponent plays well, have been removed. Like demonic instability, Necron phase out, instinctive behavior. Those kind of abilities where they provide you a really nice benefit until something goes wrong. A lot of them are gone. And that's, like, every army's just good at synergy with itself. It doesn't actually have downsides. And, I don't know, I think that's something that they could definitely play around with again to give more flavour. But it comes with the cost of the game being more complex and more bloated. And that's the trade-off you always have to make. Streamlining game balance or bloat.
Yeah, for me as someone who, I really appreciate the lore, I've not touched nearly as enough as you two have, but I really like the lore and I love the flavor that comes with each individual faction. And for me, even though I've only played one tabletop game and I got thrashed by my friend who is playing Imperial Guard, I would prefer to have some of those extra mechanics so then I can play more tactically. I'm like, okay, if I make certain decisions, perhaps I can trigger that downside that my enemy has. I think I would prefer that much more over it being streamlined, since I'm already interested in the game, but I understand as Warhammer's becoming more mainstream that they want to streamline how you play and make it easier for people to understand. It's just unfortunate because I love lore and I love flavored text. It's just a shame that we lose it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those I think Games Workshop need to be aware of, they have made a simplified game mode. It's called Combat Patrol. And it is, all the rules are a double-page spread for your army, and, okay, maybe 2 double-page spreads for your data cards and your rules. But all your rules are contained for free on the internet with 2 pages of rules for your army. Go. That's great. It's a great place to teach. But what they've got to try and think about is how do you then take these people that you want to hook and then make them stay? And this is an analogy I've made before, and because it's a community I follow quite closely, is COD Zombies. I don't know if either of you really looked at it much.
No.
Okay, well, COD Zombies, like what was Nazi Zombies, has one of the most convoluted storylines and some of the most ridiculous main quest steps. It's so ridiculously convoluted, and the mechanics are way different to anything that any other COD thing has ever done. And it gained a massive cult following. It's huge. Always has been. Pretty much since launch. But the modern game of COD Zombies basically ended up pandering too hard to the Warzone multiplayer crowd, and has now got loot mechanics and armor mechanics and different styles of health bars and a complete change in aesthetic and all those things. And there's elements of that is subjective, but it reminds me of where 40k is now, is it's trying to appeal to a wider audience. And so a lot of the really unique flavor and, let's be honest, complex bullshit that just comes with the territory ends up being diluted or lost in an attempt to hook people in. And that's, I think, where 40k is at, is that it's trying to do mass appeal because it's getting popular outside the UK, I mean. And also it's trying to actually do game balance, which is a terrible decision, but sure. So now it's stuck of, well, we want to be balanced, so we can't have all these overlapping ultra complex mechanics that could utterly screw you over if your opponent just has a good first turn. So we're just going to get rid of them.
Yeah, I don't like that. I would, even though it forces you to play strategically, I would much prefer to hone my skills with my army to understand what I need to do and help, even though it's difficult trying to understand what my enemy's capabilities are. I would much rather play strategically than have the guarantee that, oh, I'm not going to get wiped right away. I would much rather learn what I need to do. And you can learn from mistakes if you fall into those fatal errors. Hey, you can play it again and you can learn.
Yeah, well, the worst part is that you can still get wiped on turn 1. You can still be in a position at the end of turn 1 where you've already lost. But not because your army's kill zone mechanic, like Achilles' heel was exposed, but just because the game is so ultra powerful and the weapons are so strong that you just die. So they haven't done it in a way that's, all right, you've hit the alt win condition of making the Tyranid army flee in instinctive behavior, or the Necrons start to fall apart, or to invent another one, the Eldar panic about soul stones because they took so many critical hits. Because critical hits are a thing. Why not make it that if an Eldar unit takes a critical hit and a critical wound, or takes a mortal wound on a 6, then their soul stone is shattered, causing a leadership penalty. And if so many get shattered, then preservation of what's left or whatever starts to take priority. Or the Drukhari, they're all about slave raiders. Have a slaves mechanic where if they don't get enough kills, they start to fall apart. Don't just have them snowball, which they do with their pain mechanics, have them suffer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or orcs, infighting, kill the war boss, watch the elites descend into infighting to work out who the new warlord is. It's literally how to beat orcs when Ghazghkull isn't around. 101. Literally, Commander Farsight wrote the book on how to beat orcs, and it comes down to kill the leaders and watch them fall apart. It fucking works. But it's nowhere mechanically, except in Crusade. It's in Crusade. But, you can still lose on turn 1 to raw power, not to bullshit game mechanics. And I don't know which is worse.
Yeah, I don't know either. I haven't played nearly enough to have an answer for you on that one. I know I like flavor, so I'm willing to have that Achilles heel but, losing to just raw power, that sucks.
Yeah, I think it's one of them of, when you look at a game and go, why did I lose? Did I lose because I got outplayed? Did I lose because I got outmaneuvered? Did I lose because my army has an Achilles heel and I didn't accommodate for it? Because the thing that Tyranid players had to do to play around instinctive behavior was just spam synapse creatures. So that's what Tyranid players did, is they just took loads of synapse creatures, or they just created a death ball where they had so many synapse that it didn't matter. So there were ways around it, but then does that constrict army building too much? Shrug. I don't know. It's just an interesting conversation. I'd be very curious to see what the comments think if they've got this far in the episode about all of that. Very curious to see what you think.
Oh, slight tangent. Has anyone seen the Gothic Sector Battlefield in a Box third-party terrain stuff?
No.
Because they're basically buildings, a lot of the buildings from Dawn of War.
Oh my god, that literally is the Space Marine stronghold from Dawn of War.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, that's kind of cool. I like that.
That is very cool. I like that. Yeah, cool.
That's my tangent.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, since we were talking about Tyranids, should I talk about Deathworlder? Because I found it really interesting. I read Bad Loon Rising first, but we're kind of on a Tyranids tangent, so...
excuse me. Oh yeah, go for it, yeah.
Right. So, I think this is still semi-recent, so soft spoiler warning. There's not much to spoil, but soft spoiler warning.
Basically, your spoiler warning is skip to, we'll see you next episode, I imagine.
It might well be a CUNE, but anyway. So, we're on a planet, I've forgotten its name, it doesn't matter. The planet's dead. The Nids have won.
That was a short book.
Yeah,
so
very short.
we are like in the last few days to weeks before the planet is fully dead. Like the Tyranids have begun the consumption process.
Oh, right,
the planet's being terraformed, ready, and they're hoovering up, ready for consumption.
Right, gotcha.
Okay.
But not everyone on the planet is yet dead.
That sounds
I assume
horrible.
that's where the guard come in.
Yeah, so there are 2 main guard outposts left at the start of the book. One primarily held by Catachans, one primarily held by Cadians. The Catachans one starts with a tower defense where they've got flying creatures all over the place, and one of the Catachans is missing because they're being court-martialed, and it's a bit of an argument. And the other one is the Cadian bastion basically being attacked by an endless wave, like a mega swarm. And one Cadian sergeant is told, go lock yourself in this room and do not come out. Because we are all going to die here. This wave, as it is, will pass, but we are all going to die. Someone needs to survive, and it's going to be you. His name was Adeptus. So he gets locked in a room and has to listen/watch while everything outside dies.
Right.
Oh.
Now, there are no reinforcements coming. Sector Command has written the world off. But... out in, well, it's now a jungle. I don't know if it was a jungle before, but somewhere past the primary city and what was left of it, a tech priest, a very reclusive tech priest, has sent information regarding a piece of tech they have been, archaeotech that they've been working on and studying, that may prove effective against the Tyranids. And Sector Command goes, we want it. So the Catachan Bastion is told, assemble a kill team, a quiet kill team, and the entire... because the Tyranids will hear them if they don't.
Oh, quiet. I thought you said squire. I was like, what's a squire?
Quiet.
Right, sorry,
quiet.
my bad.
The entire Catachan Bastion is going to drive in that direction, including a Baneblade. They've still got a Baneblade left. And is basically just going to be sacrificed as a distraction card effects while this kill team sneaks off. And their job is to pick up the Archaeotech. Right. This order is also relayed to the other Bastion with the Cadian in it, and the two end up crossing paths. Basically, I think the Catachans rescue the Cadian after the fact. So we've got a small team of about 6 to 10 humans. You've got Trooper Adair, who's like a flamer, heavy weapons trooper. You've got a sniper called Ghost, because the Catachans are nothing if not original. Khan, who's the leader, a tech priest who's been assigned to work with them. One Cadian and a couple of others. I think it might be one or two more Catachans. And they're off to get the Archaeotech.
Right.
But while the Tyranids aren't really paying them any mind, because A, massive attack force has gone wandering off to sacrifice itself, and B, there's literally 6 of them, and they're eating the entire planet right now, you get to see firsthand the effects of the world dying. What happens when the Tyranids actually kill this planet. So, massive amounts of floral growth, areas that were completely nothing, were now overgrown jungle. Or with like alien flora and fauna. Actually, no fauna at all, just flora. The rain is filled with microorganisms that can be used to digest and contain digestive fluids. You've got harvester organisms just literally shoveling up corpses to the point of nearly bursting just to harvest the biomatter, and then jumping into dissolving lakes to dissolve said biomatter, and so on and so fucking forth. It's pretty horrendous.
Right.
Yeah. Also, there's a Gene Stealer cult, or there was.
Of course there is.
The Tyranid invasion was kicked off because of a Gene Stealer cult uprising.
Makes sense.
And they end up capturing a former senior cult member, like the sort of speaker, not a Magos or anything like that, just a normal human who was sort of the speaker of the cult. So they capture her, and she's weirdly becoming very disillusioned with the whole thing. So you get to see the reality for a Gene Stealer cultist after they realise what's actually about to happen.
Did they get any information out of her?
Yeah, she can speak cult language, and therefore they can use her to detect traps, communicate with other humans, etc. Yes.
Oh, neat.
But they also take her with them as a prisoner because, well, she could be useful down the line. Many misadventures ensue, including trying to pick up rebreathers wherever they can because the air is becoming borderline unbreathable and toxic to them because of all the effects of the Tyranids, to trying to sneak past I think it's a barbed hero jewel biotitan. They never actually name any Tyranid by name. You just have to infer by how they describe it. So I think it's some sort of biotitan by getting it to move off a bridge, trying to sort of look and sort of sneak away from zoanthropes or harvester organisms, or try and procure a vehicle because as much as they need to be quiet, they haven't got the time. The world's literally dying, and so on and so forth. And it's really quite impressive how, despite the fact you have a cast of literally 6, the book never feels like it gets stale because they're constantly on the move, and Catachans are very hilarious usually, but watching the Cadian and Catachan stereotypes of one another kind of get shattered as the Cadian's like, well, you're just brutes, you're dumb brutes. Like, no, we're not. We're the way we are because of the world we were raised in. You don't survive by being a dumb brute on Catachan. The world will kill you if you're dumb. You've got to be clever and you've got to be quick. We are the best and we know it because no one else could do what we do. And it's very interesting watching the sort of their attitude of being all stuck up and stoic and Cadian clashing with his stereotypes of them as Catachans. Just very interesting to see that character dynamic. Also, there may or may not have been I think there was the big. If it wasn't a tech priest, there would have probably been a romance subplot between the second in command Catachan and the tech priest, but I don't think they ever really went in that direction, but they definitely could have. Anyway, the interesting bit comes at the back end. Actually, no, I did miss the part where the entire Cadian regiment of the guy was found half dissolved and frozen in a pile of goop.
Oh, that's awful.
They looked like they were alive and just fossilized, but also if you'd have touched them, then A, stick, and B, snap. So, and the Cadian goes into his pocket and pulls out, and I think this is a common thing now in Cadian lore, of a little satchel of original Cadian earth, so that Cadia always stands with them wherever they go. And I believe that's quite commonplace lore now since the fall of KD. I don't think it's unique to this book. And when he sees this, he literally tips it all out. Of like, well, this is where my regiment died. Even though I'm still here, my regiment died here.
Oh.
Admittedly, Trooper Adair, who's sort of the antagonist of the group, constantly being the wind-up merchant with a flamethrower, takes pity and scoops it up later to give it back to him. But that's when he's at his all-time, I'm just going to jump off the bridge and be done with it kind of point. So, there's a softer moment that comes later, but yeah, oof.
Oh.
Anyway, the final act takes place at the headquarters, this sort of base of the Magos. And this patch of earth around the facility is dead. And I don't mean dead because the Tyranids ate it, I mean dead. Like, no signs of life anywhere. Not even Tyranid organisms in growth. It's killed everything.
I wonder if that's the nature of the tech.
That's the point. Because that's why the tech priest has reported back to Sector Command. Because if you could weaponize this, it's a nuke. But not a traditional nuke, it's a full-on exterminator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is, A, turrets, B, enhance security designed specifically to kill tech priests trying to steal my shit. Literally, there's a combat servitor that nearly cuts up the tech priest when she tries to log in using tech priest standard protocols and bypass standard security because he knew tech priest would want this work. So he deployed combat servitors specifically to kill them. But they all survive at this point. Everyone's still alive despite the bullshit. The guy, the sort of second in command, Catachan's taken a pretty bad knock, and I think Ghost I think Ghost dies to the Servitor at this point. Yeah, the one death actually comes at the hands of the tech priests, guys.
Whoops.
Not the Nids.
I would not have guessed that one.
So, here's the problem. This tech is basically a world maker. It's basically terraforming tech, but it's not like a Fallout Gek. It's more like it comes with the world itself. Because this world, Lazuli, or Lazuli, however you want to pronounce it, is incredibly rich in crystals and minerals. It was a shrine world that was extremely rich in crystals and minerals. More than should ever be found naturally. Because of this world maker terraforming it in such a way.
Oh, okay.
The other problem is, this weapon, this tech, is not a weapon, and it goes all the way to the planet's core. There's no taking it with you.
Oh.
It's useless.
Ah.
But there's also a rocket. So, here's the plan. They can't take the tech with them because it goes all the way to the Earth's core, it's way too big, and they'd never extract it without breaking it. And it's massive. Second, using it properly, just as it did to this local area, would kill everything and everyone. From nothing to nothing. Every single organism on this planet will die. And third, there's no way off planet for anyone not in that bunker. All the other, remnants of the forces who have survived in places will go with them. They have no way off world. So activating the weapon will kill all the Tyranids on world, but will also kill all the humans.
Did they say how many humans were left?
We're probably talking triple figures. Probably.
Okay.
So it's not insignificant to be the one that pushes a button that kills hundreds when you're just a guard sergeant. That's quite significant, especially for a Catachan, because, they value each other a lot more. So, how it goes is Khan gets in Vox contact with the survivors and goes, "Do you have a way off world?" No. Acknowledged. They don't have to say, "You're going to die," but they know it. They all know it. And the guard, and Khan's like, "I don't care, we're leaving. Someone is getting off this world. We're going." But they're also like, "We need to activate, we should also kill all the Tyranids because Anditz has just watched his entire regiment get turned to goop. I think he's going to want them all to die for it."
Right.
So the tech priest says, here's what we're going to do. Go and get in the rocket, and we'll remotely activate the weapon and then leave. And then says, actually, no, I'm your remote activator. The rocket's already in its launch sequence at this point. There's nothing they can do. The tech priest locks them off and tells them to go and stands by to activate the Worldmaker. Because it's archaeotech. A, too complex to do remotely, and B, you kind of just want to watch and record the data. So she patches herself through to the computer and says, right, just let me watch, and I will send as much data through on my way out. I'm dead. I can live with that. At least I get to see this happen. Which causes an argument with the guy who's basically in a romance subplot with, but, standard stuff. One sacrifice for the good of the all. The Catachans leave, and the Cadian leave. The Worldmaker kills everything. Like, the whole planet is basically, like, Necron exterminatist. Like, you think about what happens when Necrons get their hands on a planet? That. Everything's dead. Down to the microbes. Dead. So every single Tyranid on world is dead. And every single human on world is also dead, but they were kind of dead anyway.
Right.
This then means that the Hive fleet, which is around the world consuming it, takes a severe whack and ends up limping off. So you basically saved half a subsector for a bit at least. And then the book ends on a, where there is death, there will always be life. It's a Worldmaker after all, life begins anew. Type thing.
Oh, it sounds like a good book.
It was. It's one of those of, it's never depressing, but it's set against a very depressing backdrop. And there are real dark moments scattered through it. Like watching what's equivalent to a giant Haruspex just shoveling up corpses to the point where it nearly explodes is horrifying. And you stop and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or listening to Genestealer cultists argue about this is all being brought on us by the Imperium. No, the Star Children have betrayed us. This is this basic argument about whether they've done the right thing. You've got obviously the thing with your entire regiment being turned into goop, which is horrendous, and literally watching the planet and you get eaten alive by the planet because of the Tyranids. Yeah. And then you've got your classic 40k grimdark of, well, we've got this massive weapon that could kill any Tyranid we want, but it's stuck on this one planet and will also kill all of us if we activate it. And then your classic, one sacrifice so that the others can escape and spread the word and all of this kind of thing. It's really good. I think it was Victoria Hayward that wrote it. I think it's their first novel. I don't know anything else that's by them, although I will go and Google this now to check. But I was very impressed with it, and I definitely... No, not Victoria Hayward. That's a Canadian athlete. Deathworlder. Who wrote Death... Oh, is it Victoria Hayward? There's just someone else with that name. Never mind. Whoops.
Wow.
Womp womp. So yeah, I believe this is her only book. And it's... If 40k at least.
If so, then it's an impressive debut, in which case.
Certainly for 40k, it's a very impressive debut, and I thoroughly recommend it as a give it a go. If you like your guard, if you like seeing Tyranids presented as an actual threat, which is something that they don't always do very well, but you also like actually getting into the nitty-gritty of 40k as well, because it's an entire story with 6 actual characters. Everyone else is like there for 5 minutes, dead next page type thing. So it's a really good book to read and get down onto ground level, but also a really good one for lore enthusiasts who want to explore the death of a world at the hands of the Tyranids from a lore perspective, because it's something we've never really seen firsthand before. So yeah, definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I definitely want to read that. I'm more of an Imperial girl, so I like to read Imperium books, but I'm trying to branch out into some other Xenos races, and that would be a really interesting one, because I read Devastation of Baal.
This is an Imperium book.
Well, sorry. Where there's a focus on some of the Tyranids. Like Devastation of Baal had a little bit of that, but something where you can see more firsthand what the Tyranids can do.
Mm. Yeah, I would agree with that. So yeah, definitely an interesting one. It's not going to be for everybody because it is quite slow. It's not that it doesn't do anything and then nothing happens. It's just
slow burn.
If it spent slow burn, not a lot of combat because there's literally 6 guardsmen against an entire planet of Nids. So what did you expect?
Right.
It's more about, staying alive no matter what, avoiding conflict and the good of the mission, but also the good of seeing Imperials who actually give a toss about each other's lives for more than half a second. Plus getting to see Catachans and Cadians interact with one another. That's quite rare. So I think it's worth having a look at in that sense because you get to see the stereotypes run into each other and how they deal with that conflict without shooting each other because the Imperium. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. If you like your slow burn and aren't just all about supermassive gung-ho murder sprees all the time. So basically, if you don't like Space Marine books, you'll like this.
Good to know. And given the time, ladies and gentlemen, we shall call it there for this episode. So, thank you very much to everyone who tuned in for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. And thank you very much to Aurelia Tempris for joining us this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry I couldn't contribute as much, but I learned a lot today, so I really appreciate you having me here.
No, honestly, you did really well. Considering the position that you profess to be coming from of not a lot of knowledge, you wouldn't know it from listening to you. I honestly, if you hadn't said that you barely played the game and barely read anything, I wouldn't have known. So you did a really good job, and thank you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
So, until next time, everyone, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Nate from Tactica Imperialis.
That's your
Do
cue,
I say
Aurelia.
my name?
Yes.
Sorry. And I'm Aurelia Tempris.
And we'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye.